27 Inc. Hey, we gon' get do it, get that going, no cap, no cap. Yeah, you should join, you should make them jump. No crisscross, you ain't on my level. Young boss, we gon' get to it, get that coin, no cap. You should join, you should make them jump. No crisscross, you ain't on my level. Young boss, hey, wake up in China, or Dubai, You are not like me, Nice try. I'm a nice guy, why you wanna chop me up? Pillow talking with them bitches, I'ma call your bluff. Yay, act up. Soft as cotton, yay, say that man, but I'm doing all the robbing. Had your bitch slopping. Heart throbbing. She said go deep. I told her no problem. Betty, get that bag. It's no secret. I move different. You can peep it. I live it. $2, I'ma give it. You wanna floss? I'ma go serious. You don't get to it. Get that coin. No cap. No cap. Yeah. You should join. You should make them jump. No crisscross. You ain't on my level. Young boss, we gon' get to it. Get that coin, no cap. You should join, make them jump. No crisscross, you ain't on my level. Young boss, don't call me mommy. Call me Googa. Cause you're Ruga, I'm a shooter. Say my Huda. Say what you like. I keep it tight. I need a Gucci man to hit it right. Keep it wet. Make me sweat. No disrespect. Come correct. Ain't on my level. Oh, boss ain't cross. Got the jet. Trying to flex. Speaking on the next. Niggas on your necks. We playing chess. What you thought? Trying to cross the box. Get that coin, no cap, yeah. You should join, you should make them jump, No crisscross, you ain't on my level. Young boss, we gon' get to it, get that coin, no cap. You should join, you should make them jump, No crisscross, you ain't on my level. Young boss.
And we are here, y'all. This is your boy DJ Row, and it's Global History Radio. And are you in the building?
Yeah, I am.
Nice, nice, nice. Let's do it.
Okay.
Ooh, man, I was having a fight today.
Oh, yeah? What
Yeah,
happened?
me and this computer.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like it made me do
Yeah.
all this what do you call it, security stuff. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Oh, yeah. Once it get
Ooh,
once it gets you with the updates, yeah, when that happens right when you're trying to do something, it sucks.
right when you're trying to do something.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we got it. We
We
own.
got it. What's up? Happy spring.
Yeah, it's about time.
Yeah, it's nice out, huh?
Yep.
Yeah. 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 So what you been up to?
Just kind of just working. We got a 3-day weekend this weekend.
That's
Cesar Chavez Day on Monday.
Oh, that's right.
Shout out to Cesar Chavez
hmm
and all
Okay.
my Latin, Hispanic, Mexican homies.
All right. Yeah. Yeah. Celebrate. Yeah. I wonder how hard, okay, can you hear me well?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Okay. I got the mic. I mean, it's fine, just kind of perched next to the computer. It doesn't it's okay without the fancy ass thing I can't put together.
It sounds good though.
Good.
It sounds good.
Good. Good. Yeah, I definitely needed one of those. Trying to like pick it up and all that. Yeah. So I'm reading Brittany Griner's memoir.
Yeah.
Oh God, it's so, I mean, it's just so traumatic and horrible. I mean, Russian jails. I mean, it's not that like in Russia, a lot of things suck. So it's not like here, jail's not going to be that. Jail's like obviously not going to be nice, but in Russia, just everything is falling apart. The food's disgusting. There's nothing can get clean.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah, it's nasty. It's really nasty. She was just, the water comes out brown and, like the electricity will go out and it's, I mean, it's cold there. So, yeah, it was pretty traumatic for her. And I just find the story kind of fascinating because we've talked about that before. It's just so easy to forget stuff in your bag. And she said that her girlfriend now wife, usually packed for her. Um, so her girlfriend had packed like her big bags, but she hadn't packed the carry-on and she was in a hurry and packing at the last minute, so she just threw stuff in, and then they found the vape pens. And the fact that it happened right before the Ukrainian war might have made a difference in how long she was kept for, because she was a celebrity in Russia. I mean, I guess women's basketball is a big deal there, and she'd been going there for a long time. So, I mean, since she was real popular with people, and Putin is real into supporting the sports and the arts and all that, he might have let her out, but then with Ukraine, he needed to show even more that he was a strong man. So then at so the jail, I mean, their jail jobs is sewing uniforms for the military, which they need to keep replacing the military. So she couldn't even, because like in prison, I mean, it's not like people are gonna make exceptions for you, but she's like 6'9". She couldn't physically like sit under the sewing machine. So they had her carrying bales of fabric.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And she had to cut her dreads because they could never, when they went outside, her dreads froze, and then she could never get them dry. So yeah, she had to leave her dreads in Russia. So yeah, it was pretty scary. And then her dad was in the military, and then he was a cop. So she was really upset or worried that he would feel disgraced. And so, yeah. Yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, she'd have to write it because hopefully she made money off of it, because she's not going to go play overseas anymore. And the whole reason she was doing it is because the WNBA players don't make much, relatively, for sports stars. Okay, so there's that. And wait, okay, so I started something about the orphan trains, which I'm always kind of interested in. The orphan trains were started in the mid 19th century, and in that era they had slums. It was just nasty where people was. Again, I
Uh,
mean,
Can you explain to people what exactly an orphan train is?
yeah, that's what I do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It seemed like you were telling us, I was
Well,
trying to understand.
I'm getting to it,
Okay.
because the slums where people were so nasty and filthy, and people had too many kids. And so there was just a lot of kids that were just kind of wild running around. And so the idea was to get them out of that. See, and put them on a train and send them away, like to places in the country. Um, and so it was true. And so part of it had to do with big changes taking place in the 19th century as the United States became less and less agricultural and more industrial. So the cities were increasing in size in just crazy numbers. So there weren't places to live. I mean, there wasn't sewers or garbage pickup. It was just a mess. It was just a disaster. And then, I mean, unfortunately, I mean, there were kids that were sent out to work and had a place to go, had a home, but plenty of them didn't. However, the orphan train had the same problem as has always happened, parents that were not informed. And so, like always, some kids were there because just it was supposed to be temporarily, but they get put on these trains. And before like before that before that era, there hadn't really been the concept of an orphan. There was biblically, like the widows and orphans, they'd consider a kid an orphan if their father had died. But orphans weren't identified I mean, I hate to use the word like community as a population or anything. There were no orphanages. So in that era, there was this great poverty, but there also was starting to be more money. There was women that weren't out working, had less to do in the household. Well, that was like things were just easier than they used to be. So they needed stuff to do. So coming up with causes like orphans was kind of well, there's just different aspects that play into different movements. So they just would put kids on these trains with pretty minimal paperwork, and I mean, some of them would go all the way across the country, and it seems like quite a few wouldn't really have gone that far from New York City, because it's not like you would have needed to go that far away to get to rural areas. And the idea was you can always use more bodies on a farm. So they were pretty much trying to get kids placed on farms, especially boys. But so the idea was also, I mean, at a farm, they're more liable to have enough food. And there was this idea that it was a healthy thing, that it was healthier than the slums, which was true. And so it was just a mixture. And I've read different books about it, and I've seen a documentary about it, because I mean, the people that were going to take the kids in weren't screened or anything. I mean, basically they'd show up someplace, and like if it was their church, then pretty much like, oh, here's a kid, because they're a member of the church. So you could see how that's a problem, pretty much. But in the 19th century was really pretty scary when you see those photos of what cities were like. I mean, there was no birth control. People couldn't, it was hard for people that couldn't, so people would be having, I mean, there was barely the concept back then. And so people couldn't feed their kids. A lot of women would die in childbirth. So there was a lot of unattended kids at that point, and that was the first that was the beginning, I guess, of authorities, of outside factors, of agencies, of organizations getting involved with kids. Like there was no CPS. I don't know when that was started. So people wouldn't have had that concept either. There wasn't programs for kids like there are now, especially kids in that in the past. Childhood was a lot shorter. I mean, you would pretty much girls got married young, and on a farm, I mean, you can send kids out to work a full day. And it was the same in the 19th century and 20th century. There were kids working in factories, and it was very dangerous. A lot of factory equipment. I mean, there were no regulations. There was nothing, no protection. So, I mean, a lot of that got started because of Frances Perkins, who we've talked about here. And she was a product of her era because she was from a family that was, I don't know, I mean, not well off by those standards, that could send a girl to college. More women were going to college and wanting to find things to do. So they would get involved in like social work and, um, they were called clubhouses and stuff back then, the beginning of like the beginning of like resource centers, I guess. So I'm watching a Hulu documentary about Janet Jackson.
Uh-huh.
Oh God. Well, it's 3 parts. I was mostly I mean, I'm sort of watching the second one. The first one was she was so cute as a little girl. Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah. So did you grow up like knowing about her?
Oh yeah, of course. I listen to Janet Jackson all the time. I got all her music too.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's pretty amazing that, I mean, the same, I don't know, that Janet and Michael are from the same family. I mean,
Well, musically, you could tell.
Well, yeah, but I just mean, I mean, so far as being, well, that's true, just so talented. Yeah, that's true. I mean, he's the one that, um, but I don't know. I mean, I guess he started, and she was so much younger than them. The documentary shows them going back to the home that the family lived in. So, where there's a Jackson 5 Boulevard and all that.
Yep. Been a long time. Didn't she just recently perform or something?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I saw the video, man. She looks the same.
Amazing, huh?
Yeah, 'cause isn't she like, wouldn't she be like what, 60 right now? In her 60s?
Um, no, she'd be in her 50s.
Okay.
She was younger than Michael.
Because I know
Yeah.
she looked almost the same. I was shocked. I was like, okay.
Well, they can do a lot, stage makeup can do a lot with
Right.
that. Yeah, she looks pretty. Yeah. She's pretty stunning. I mean, she's another one that just went through the entire eras of music. Was she in the very beginning of music videos?
Yep. She was one of the originals on MTV. That's how, just when you think about it, she was one of the originals back when MTV started putting like R&B and soul music on there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I was kind of aware of it when I came out. I mean, I remember my cousin watching it at my dad's house, but I didn't really, my family, my family never had cable. I mean, back in the days when you needed cable for stuff like that, I mean,
Right.
didn't really watch TV and we didn't have cable. So, yeah. So did we have, okay, so did we last have a show 2 weeks ago?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so I also was watched a film called Last Take, Rust and the Story of Helena, about Helena Hutchins, the cinematographer that was accidentally killed on the set of the Alec Baldwin film.
Uh-huh.
So I watched it because a friend of mine's wife is the director. So I was sort of interested in it because of that. So she was in a different, this woman, Rachel, I've never met her, that's her name. She was in a difficult position because when your friend dies, I mean, you want to honor them. You don't want someone to be known as part of a tragedy. And I mean, because particularly all the footage is just Alec Baldwin shoots cinematographer. So that's real hard hard. Can you hang on just one sec?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, good. That wasn't my washing machine making
Mhm.
making a weird noise. So I guess Helena Hutchins' husband had asked Rachel to make a film about her. So if you know someone, of course you want it to be about them, but that was just such a huge story. And also, I mean, she was a cinematographer, she was a behind the scenes person. So they showed clips from as much of her work as they could, but they had to go through what was so interesting about the film was it was such an up close look at how a film is made because Helena's husband was signed like basically a lot of the times with the with a documentary they don't have access to to footage of behind the scenes, but they did for this. There was just a it could, you know, just film that people had on the set, and you don't always have access to that, but they did. So and some of it would have been Helena's, I guess. And so since they were working with her husband, so the whole thing, there was a lot that was filmed. There was a lot of behind the scenes stuff going on, and a lot of behind the scenes of Helena directing, because she was the director of photography on this film. So I guess the DP. So the DP is right next to the director, pretty much. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So the when they I guess like so when they're filming, I mean the director's there and the DP is I guess it's because like the director of photography is responsible for how the entire thing looks. So I guess she can't like the director, she has to be there for every scene. She has to see how everything looks. And so it was like there was footage of the prep for the film. So she would have needed to figure out like all the camera people, all the lighting, just everything that you need basically to make it a movie. So now I understand why the DP is such a big deal, because I mean she's identified as a choreographer. Well, that makes sense because it's not like you can. So that part was really interesting, just showing all the backstage stuff and how something is set up. And the part about the guns was interesting because I don't know anything about guns. And while the trial was happening, or even before, um, it was just really confusing. Like, the big deal was that there's a live, there was live rounds, and there wasn't supposed to be. So, which I didn't, so I guess all the other ammunition is dummy rounds. But more than that, it's not even just dummy rounds. I mean, there's different stages of where there's just, I don't know. I mean, I kind of thought a gun was loaded or not loaded, basically. But it's a lot more complicated than that. And so yeah, they were apparent, because I mean, it's a Western, there's a lot of gunfights in the movies. Like, I didn't understand why at first, like, why they're explaining, like, you roll it and you check the barrels. I was like, well, why do they have all these bullets if it's not real? Well, because they keep doing tapes. So he was explaining that, like, there's a couple different ways the guns can go. Like, sometimes they're saying, like, you have to, like, physically react to, like, the kickback or something, what it's called, because the gun won't do that. Sometimes you're firing and sometimes you're not. So I guess that's a really big deal, I guess. I mean, sometimes there's prop gun, sometimes there's blanks, and sometimes there isn't. So it was just really complicated, and which, I mean, I knew that obviously was a major responsibility, but when you see gunfights in movies, I mean, anytime you look at backstage at a movie, you see how much work goes into it. But that was something, when you look at how many guns there are in a film like that. I had no idea, and I didn't know that. I don't know. I mean, I guess I thought that it just seems like why aren't there more fake guns? But, like, they said the gun that Alec was using, I guess they said it was a prop gun. But I guess that means it's real, but that means it's still a gun, right? Yeah, because if you say prop gun, then that sounds like it's fake. So anyway, it's pretty, so I mean, they hired, it was a low budget film. They hired someone who was not experienced, not credentialed. She was hired because they didn't want to pay union rate. So they hired someone who'd worked for cheap, her father was a famous armorer. So, and she'd been on set with him a lot. So that was her claim to knowing about it. And I'm like, yeah, well, my dad was a doctor. I can't perform any exam on someone. So that part was just It was just really sad. There'd been a couple mishaps on, already been guns going off accidentally, like twice on this set before the incident even happened with Baldwin's gun. So I guess I guess he cocked he cocked it, but I mean, he didn't. I believe him that he didn't fire fire the gun, but I guess it made sense to me. I mean, you can't. There's two stages of firing a gun, and if one stage has happened, if you do the other one, the gun will go off. So yeah, it was really sad. So there'd been a 7 crew members had walked out. And so normally when they're shooting a scene, I guess the director and the DP aren't even right there where the filming is. They're in a tent watching it on a screen. And so then there'll be a couple different screens from the different cameras. So they'll be looking at the whole thing and like figuring out what looks best. But they didn't have enough. They had lost their cameraman. So the director, Joel and Lena were they were right there. They were basically standing behind the cameraman. So it just it was such a small space. It was just when you saw it. And so yeah, so that's why, I mean, it would, I guess the range, I don't know, would have been so close. He fired and like, I mean, even if it was a blank, it would have really would have injured them. So, but yeah, so the bullet went through her and into him.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so I actually believe that, I mean, to me, it it just seems obvious that the actor isn't responsible for it, because if you're gonna have you think like, okay, the professionals are gonna check something and then you hand it to the person that's gonna use it. And people were saying, why didn't he check? Well, they don't want to, and he said, like, if like if in a case like that, if the actor like turned it to check, the professionals are going to have to check it again because you busted the chain of command. So he was tried for manslaughter, and which I just think that would have been wrong. I mean, and then the case was dropped because of a mishandling of evidence. So it was him, and then so there was the second director. So he, I guess the armorer is supposed to hand the gun to the second director who does, and I understand. I mean, I don't remember how it goes exactly, but I understand there's just a principle, there's a procedure. And so he pled guilty because he was part of that chain of command and got a suspended sentence, and the armorer was sentenced to 1.5 years. She just had a shitty attitude also. I mean, like, yeah, she's screwed up, but it was just really clear that she was more upset for herself than the people that were hurt. I mean, so but yeah, I watched it over again because all the stuff with the lighting was so interesting, and how um prop guns and all that work. Um, yeah. Um, I don't remember. Want to take a break?
Let's do it.
Okay.
And it's Global History Radio, y'all.
I'm trying to get you off my mind. Trying to get you off my mind. I'm trying to get you off my mind. Instead, I'm just wasting my time. If I try to get you on the line, I know I'll be wasting my time. And I get you up out of my head. Just remember the times. I just be stuck on rewind. No, I'm just wasting my time. Yeah. I just be wasting my time. I just be wasting my time. Yeah. I just be wasting my time. I just be wasting my time. Yeah. And I get you up out of my head. I just remember the times. I just be stuck on rewind. No, I'm just wasting my time. Before I get out of my past, I was so foolish to think it would last. Stuck on my mind, but you're not coming back. What was I thinking? Didn't know how to act. When in the streets with my dogs in the pack, taking out runs, I was getting the snack. I'm looking crazy, feeling the backlash. You know what you got to you lost what you have. So you had your social, calling and texting your mobile. Speaking out, trying to be vocal. See, I'm trying to make you my focal. Stuck in reverse, you all on my brain. Replaying us all over again. I just want to talk. I'm going insane. Wasting my time, still doing the same. Baby, I'm missing your face. I'm missing you more by the day. I know you said I'd be replaced if I kept making the same mistakes, but this time won't be the case. Cause baby, I know I didn't change. And it's wrong.
And cannot accept any messages at this time.
I'm trying to get you off my mind. Instead, I'm just wasting my time. If I try to get you on the line, I know I'll be wasting my time. And I get you up out of my head. I just remember the times. I just be stuck on rewind. No, I'm just wasting my time. Yeah. I just be wasting my time. 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 And I get you up out of my head. I just remember the times. I just be stuck on rewind. No, I'm just wasting my time. Yeah. I just be wasting my time. I just be wasting my time. Yeah. I just be wasting my time. I just be wasting my time. Yeah. And I get you up out of my head. I just remember the times. I just be stuck on rewind. No, I'm just wasting my time. Yeah.
And we are back, y'all. Anna's Global History Radio. Anna, are you in the building?
Yeah. So, okay, welcome home, Butch and Sunny, the astronauts. Did you follow that?
I didn't, but I heard something about it.
Okay, well, they were supposed to be in space for a week and something screwed up and they weren't able, the car broke down or whatever. So they were there for 9 months. So that was just wild because I just thought about it in a way as, okay, that is an example of I can't think of a more profound example of needing to deal with a change of plans. So, yeah, I mean, in space, there's just nothing to compare it with. I mean, they were able to, it never ceases to amaze me that people can communicate from space. But they had I couldn't figure out like how they would survive. Like, I mean, of course you're gonna of course on a journey or whatever, a mission like that, you're gonna bring some extra supplies, but not almost a year. But I guess there were other astronauts that came up. There must have been. That was never explained, actually.
Well, I mean, what if they have that packaged food like the, kind of have in the army?
Yeah, they do, but
You can store about a year's worth of that, I think.
it's not. It's more that would you have? I mean, if you think something's gonna take week, maybe you'd pack enough stuff for a month. I think it's possible that, I mean, because I think other astronauts came up and brought, I don't know if they brought them stuff or not. That was never explained. But yeah, I mean, they don't take that, it just seems like space is very limited, and it just seems hard to picture having room for that much stuff that you didn't really plan for. And it's not just, they might have been on medications, and that is a real um extreme postponement. So I was trying to remind myself of that, because of course they're not going to show themselves freaking out. And I mean, to do a job like that, you go through major psychological training and stuff too. But that was pretty remarkable. And so the health effects are really extreme, because muscles are supposed to bear weight. If you don't use your muscles, they'll atrophy. So they had to exercise, I think, at least 2 hours a day. That just was one of the parts that seemed so strange to me. Just, like, yeah, I'm just on my little exercise, I'm just on my little bike here, my little stationary bike here. I'm not sure what.
No, go ahead.
Oh, okay. I mean, it was pretty wild when they would do, because they look so normal when they're talking, and then you realize that they're floating. So that it would just be really hard to do that exercise, I guess, because um how are you going to have anything, like, even if you tried to, like, make your legs more weight bearing, nothing's weight bearing. So they had to be stretchered off the spaceship. But they were pretty badass. I mean, of course, because when the lady came out, she's like this to people, and he came out and he's like that. So that's always pretty cool. And so I watched video of them landing. So what happens is they when they hit the airspace, balloons release
Mm.
like that to slow it down. And I didn't really, at first I was like, wait, what's that? I mean, it's so funny because here's this space age technology, but you're still going to use parachute, and it lands in the water. So I mean, so it's so dramatic, because it hits the water, and the whole control room is like, the shuttle has returned to Earth. So yeah, that was pretty cool. And then I don't even know how precise is it? And then, like, okay, can the space shuttle also, is it also a boat? Like,
Yeah, I feel you on that.
one of those, like, yeah, it's like it's capable of space, and it also has something, like, because then I was like, well, then do they, like, drive it to wherever it's supposed to be? So,
So yeah, I was looking it up. They said on here that they hold around 6 months worth of food on board,
mhm.
and then a minimum of reserve of 45 for 45 days.
Okay, well,
So, and they said most of it is like army, like you know how they do in the army and the military. It's like dehydrated
yeah,
type food, and I guess they recycle the water. The ship recycles the water.
okay.
So I
Hmm.
guess they can pretty much last I think they can last about a year maybe if
Yeah,
they
I
do it
guess
right.
Yeah, I guess if you pack in those MREs and
Yeah.
yeah, they would come in on video and they had some sort of because they always show them with like it's some kind of I don't know fake turkey or something on the holidays.
Well, it said on there that's one of the meals they have. The two meats they mainly have is chicken and turkey.
Wow,
So they probably pull out a dehydrated, one of them turkey things, put some water in it, stir it up. Here we go.
man.
So,
Yeah, well, it'll be interesting and you see how it goes. Um, yeah, I get you don't really know how much space is there, but I watched a segment where the lady Sunny shows you around and she shows like, they have to like strap themselves into something to sleep.
wow.
Yeah.
I guess because they'll start floating, huh?
Yeah.
Or they'll float away.
Yeah. Yeah. I would love to experience that. Not for 9 months, but
Yeah,
I would love to go into,
maybe about an hour,
huh? Well,
maybe an
yeah,
hour.
yeah.
I could just imagine have to do that for almost 9 months. Woo!
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean,
But remember, that's what they go through all that extensive training for. So
oh, they do, yeah,
they know what they're doing when they do up there.
they do. There was an interview with I forget her last name, Wilson. There was an interview with with Sunny's mother, and they asked her, she was great. They asked her if she was worried, and she's like, oh, she was always off doing stuff.
Fork you use in a restaurant.
Yeah, you can see why yeah, yeah. So I guess she had her mom must have been pretty encouraging of her being adventurous. I I read a while ago I read about preparation for people like applications for people to sign up to go to Mars. And that's something where they're like testing it or something for when it was going to happen because I guess you could do something like that and just never come back. So I think in order to like candidates need to like they need to live underground by themselves for a year or something like that. I could not do that.
Nope,
Mm-mm. Yeah,
can't do it.
leave your entire family and everything to just go live on a red planet. Okay, so we're gonna move on. So, okay, how's your friend Trump doing?
Oh, my friend Trump is doing lovely.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's doing lovely, all right. I don't know. It's hard to tell with that situation, man.
Well, it is, but
I do know I was watching the news. I did see where a lot of federal workers who voted for him were upset that they got let go,
yeah,
and they voted for him. So,
that would be rough. That would be rough. Um, it's hard to the numbers are just crazy when you read about how many people were getting fired. Like, how can what kind of effect is that going to have on the economy? I mean, he's supposed to be bringing prosperity. So, well, I don't freak out about stuff like that. And so about the government for the most part. And so one of the things I said to people freaking out was like, okay, if it turns into a disaster, he'll be voted out in the midterms. People are not going to, I mean, the Republicans will be voted out in the midterms and he'll be voted out in 4 years. So, people vote. people are not going to fuck around, you know. People vote food and gas. So, but I watched um but you know, see like some of the stuff again. I mean, this is why let me turn the light on. There is a ton of waste in government agencies, and there were all these criticisms of you know, people, oh my God, they got rid of this wonderful program. I mean, the health programs, that's one thing, but some of the cultural stuff, I just felt, why is the US paying for it? Because it's not that other countries don't have money. They do. And so, I mean, Trump didn't like NATO, and so, I mean, one of the things Matt was saying was just like, okay, we don't need to necessarily have the same how do I get this down? Have the same, it was put together after World War II. The world has changed. I've always agreed with trying to get the Arab nations should be helping the Palestinians more. So that's how I feel with some of the international stuff. I am fine with the Department of Education being disbanded. Did you hear about that?
Yes, I heard about that.
I'm not. Okay, well, there's only been a Department of Education since this won't come down since the 70s for one thing. I feel like it seems like there's constantly battles and struggles between the feds and the state and the states. And I think that nobody's going to change their mind and separate, you know? I mean, the federal government says do this, and then the states go to court, or else the states do this and somebody else goes to court. Meanwhile, if you okay, say they send those resources to the states for education, think about that.
Mhm. Mhm.
So it just doesn't, I mean, look how bad our education system is. And
So, what's the plan since they're getting rid of this?
they
Mm.
have not even expressed one. I mean,
That's my only concern with it is it's like you get rid of things, what's going to be better? What are the reasonings for it? What is it to be?
well, the idea would be simply to have states run their own schools, basically. I mean, right now, like, okay, remember No Child Left Behind? That was the federal government, and that meant one of the things it meant was that kids were moved ahead in grades that shouldn't have been. And one of the things you hear from teachers is No Child Left Behind sets like rules and mandates and stuff like that. So and there's tests, so they have to teach for the test. I mean, you hear that from teachers all the time. They have to teach for these tests. So if you put those resources, I mean, the idea that I sound like so red, that there's gonna needs to be some federal oversight. And part of the problem is, well, okay, if the state and the feds both have rules or whatever, who's gonna say, why does the federal government know better when it comes to educational policy? So if those, and I mean, you have money tied up in the federal government, and it just managing money. So you have to try and get that money out to the states. And I don't even know how you do that. I mean, how they would do it. But if they're just think what they could do. I mean, if those resources were, I mean, then you'd need to worry about the states doing dumb stuff. But if the money that's spent to run the Department of Education was sent to the states, and I don't know how that would happen. I don't know how it would happen fairly. And it would make such a difference. And that's the problem with all the stuff, the sports stuff, the book stuff, I just feel that we should stop fighting about it, okay? Stop freaking out about what kids in Mississippi are assigned to read. You can't stop fighting about it, because all that happens is fighting. It doesn't help. It ties up resources, and who really knows better? Does the federal government really know better than anyone else? There's an idea that if there's an agency, that the agency or organization will protect us. Well, why? Who says the agency is the good guys? I listened to an interview with Musk and his bros. They're all bros. It's not fucking believable. I mean, it's him, and then behind him, like that, it's this group of white dudes under 30, basically. They all look alike. But it was interesting. So it was on Fox News, and Brett Baer did the interview, and he's a journalist I like a lot. I just think he could, because he's on Fox, he's interviewed Trump. He can get interviews with people that won't go to other stations. And I always try and get people to watch him, because I mean, he doesn't he countered Trump about the election claims. I mean, he'll say calmly, like, there's no proof I mean, he'll disagree with Trump or correct him, and then go on to the next question. And that's really what a good interviewer should do. They get criticism for not challenging him or something. Well, they're not there to argue with the person. So okay, I have to find the clip. So Musk, of course they're going to report on the problem. So they're reporting on just how inefficient these organizations are, which is true. They're big and convoluted, and there's departments that still need paper, and it's I mean, the government so isn't gonna get the best service or anything for the most part. Like, okay, who are you really gonna get to come in and reprogram your systems or whatever? I mean, so
Well, I just hope this isn't one of them situations like with when he came around the first time with the healthcare, when he was acting like he was going to do all this spectacular stuff with the healthcare and wound up taking Obama's and just changing the name. And I'm like, is there really a plan in place?
well, yeah, I mean, well, yeah, well, for one thing, I mean, he's not, nobody else has done this stuff. So,
That's the thing that's kind of weird. It's
so he's
scary.
not like just um, so no, I mean, he's not, so
Has he
not
mentioned the
all,
plan? Has he
I-
even mentioned what his plan is for doing all this?
not really,
You
but,
see?
well, not, well, like, I think, well, some of it's gonna be put back together. So, Musk said that, I mean, he was talking about the universities, and it's kind of like what I was saying with the schools. And I mean, I knew that before, I certainly knew that before I watched this interview. There's a tremendous amount of resources tied up in administering. So if you pare that down, he said that he was talking about the percentages, like say people at a university, if they apply for a grant, they're only gonna get a small percent, that they will get a smaller percentage, a smaller percentage taken out. He said, look at me, he said, I am making a promise that everybody will get money, more money back. That's what he said. And it's the advantage in a, like, he's not trying to put, I mean, that is the logic of having people that rich in the government. I mean, they don't understand other people, but he's not trying to enrich himself, basically. You're sort of like, well, why is he doing it? So I mean, it made sense to me. Like, basically, okay, I- if you really are gonna do something like that, you need to throw it all out and start over completely. That is what you need to do. So that makes sense to me. I don't really see how they could do it any other way. And I think, well, I think some people will get hired back. Basically, there are things that still need to be done. Um, but I don't know. I mean, if everybody that gets fired votes Democrat in 2 years,
This is gonna be crazy.
it is going to be crazy. And in 2 years, will um also have time to see if anybody gets money back.
I doubt it.
Well,
I'd like to see it.
but where's it gonna go? Okay, that's the thing. If they're really eliminating if they're eliminating all this government, where's it gonna go?
See, you brought up a good question. Where's all the money gonna go now?
Well, yeah, it's not like they're trying to pocket it.
Well, no, man. You don't necessarily have to pocket it. You can put it into your own endeavors. So,
There's too
you
much.
know,
No,
I'd like to see this. A lot of questions To me, it's a lot of questions, but not enough answers.
Well, definitely. I mean, I'm gonna watch I'm gonna watch that interview again. But seriously, again, and I can say it to you because you're not one. I mean, a lot of people I know are out protesting at his fucking dealership. And so what? What difference is that gonna make? It's ridiculous. Basically, people were doing it in Vallejo, and somebody posted about, look at all the people, there's this many people down protesting Tesla, like 3 times as many as came out to demonstrate, memorialize the guy that was killed by the unhoused person that was killed by a bulldozer, whatever. Did you get the video I sent you?
Yes, I did.
Want to play it?
Whenever you're ready.
Okay, let's do it.
All right.
Tell me exactly what happened.
I'm trying to give him CPR. I need to give him CPR.
Okay, but that's
I'm trying to give him CPR.
Ma'am, I need you to take a breath. I need you
He
to have.
blew his head off.
I feel like TikTok just put the gun in his hand and told him, pull the trigger.
How many more children have to die because Snapchat chooses profits over safety?
I was stopped 7 times.
I don't know of any other kids that OD'd on fentanyl that are still here.
The Social Media Victims Law Center. It is a law firm founded for the sole purpose of holding social media companies accountable for the harms that they're causing children.
Let's say I'm a dealer. I can easily locate you. Hey, I'm going to be at the park around the corner. You can come meet me here. It's like the platform was built for that.
I found my son's lifeless body due to fentanyl poisoning. They have the best distribution system in the world, and nobody has stopped them.
What do you say to those parents, Mr. Spiegel?
I'm so sorry that we have not been able to prevent these tragedies.
For years, because of Section 230, the doors to this courthouse and the entire American legal system was closed to them.
These products were specifically designed to be addictive to adolescent brains, and this is known to the defendant.
Just me and Glenn and Laura down here up against the most powerful, richest companies in the world.
People say David and Goliath, and I said, it's not Goliath, this is Leviathan.
We're gathering evidence that is going to show the judge that Snapchat's full of it. When they say that we don't know how it works, we know how it works. Hi, Michael. We're going to make a difference.
This is the first case that's ever been tried in this way, based on the design of their algorithm, based on the design of their platform, not the content.
My son and his girlfriend had had disagreements. Imagine having that sadness and you're searching for help, and what you're getting is suicide content.
These companies have been gaslighting us for years.
This is all about money.
The purpose of all commercial ventures is to create a demand.
Our children are the casualties.
We need to take back the power from these companies.
They created a dangerous situation and then manipulated these kids.
They know the levels of addiction, sexual abuse. They know the levels of suicide. They're not showing our kids what they want to see. They're showing you what they can't look away from.
We all feel empathy for the plaintiffs and their losses, but plaintiffs have not and indeed cannot assert any legal theory under which SNAP would be held accountable.
These parents are going out there every day and re-traumatizing themselves.
I'll never see his face again or hear his laugh. If this can save even one person, it'll be worth it.
This is the fight I've been training for 30 years. All right, let's go to war.
Until my final breath.
Ooh. Isn't that something?
Yeah.
Well, you're
I don't know, man. That situation, that's a hard situation. I personally think, and this is my opinion. I don't know if you agree with it or not, but I'm gonna just say it. I think that kids should not have phones that can go on social media until they're like 18.
well, yeah. I mean,
Or
I'm
at least 18. You can have a phone, but when it comes to phones that do social media and all that stuff, they just should not be able to go on there until they're old enough to at least kind of assess the situation. But until they do that, I don't think there's really no way to stop what they're trying to stop.
there is. Yeah, there is. You should. I mean, this is you documentary. They don't make documentaries about things that don't exist or aren't impossible. I mean, yes,
I don't know about this one, man, because I mean, like I said, social media to me, the internet, and I see it on both ends in the sense that social media is kind of one of them things. If you're a person that knows how to hack in and stuff, most people could do what they want to do no matter what.
not if um not if they don't. I mean, I'm sort of saying that like it's not none of it is as my brother's not like put his everything on the line for something without a firm basis is what I'm saying, for something that doesn't. They're using product safety, like that social which nobody has done before.
So
So
what exactly is product
yeah.
safety?
Okay, so product safety means that your car is supposed to have seatbelts.
Okay.
Basically, that's what it means. That a manufacturer has a responsibility, has a requirement not to release dangerous products. The social media is a product, and products are, if you have a product, you want more people to use it. So the companies have designed algorithms and mechanisms that will keep kids online longer, and so and show drug dealers where they are, the location features, the age features, the verification. It is a faulty product, and the algorithms, they can make they can improve the location. They can, I mean, right now it's a joke for anybody to find underage kids. I mean, for the dealers. And there's algorithms that will send kids certain stuff different than what they looked for, because they know how the adolescent brain works. So, I mean, I just what I want to get across to people is that this is a serious and substantive legal theory backed by experts and knowledgeable people worldwide. They might not win in court, but it is, there's zero reason to say that it lacks any legitimacy, or that it's not going to happen, or that it's hopeless, because you can't. This is about, this part of the film is about the stage, I believe, when they were preparing the motion of discovery, because you can't just take somebody to trial. You have to get justification from the judge even to have a trial. So this part is about them working on the motion of discovery, I forget what it's called, and taking that to court. And most of the in cases before this, the social media companies have been able to shut down these efforts, so it doesn't even go to trial. This is about taking the step where they were cleared, where they got the go ahead, like, okay, now you can move ahead. And so it's going to be interesting. Like, one of the communities that it will be, what I said, it'll be very, very good for law students to see it, to understand that principle. But yeah, I saw the whole thing when I was in New York, but it's I showed I mean, they weren't finished with it yet. So this is the preview, the trailer, and it's going to be available online in about 2 weeks, I think.
Okay, nice. I might check that out.
It's really, I mean, it's really sad. Basically, I mean, a big part of it is the parents. So, yeah, but I don't know. So that kind of, okay, so that's one of the things that's been happening. And I've been working on making that point to people when we're advocating for services for the homeless, like how are people who are experiencing this issue not at the center of trying to solve it? Like, okay, it's there, and so I've been working on that with the warming centers. I videoed an unhoused person talking about the warming centers and what works and what doesn't. When they opened up the warming centers, we've just been gathering information from people, and we're trying to get showers, like, and so I'm working with a nonprofit to do it, because what I said we're going to do is what I learned from my dad is you find a problem that you can solve and figure out reasons for people to agree with you. So what I'm going to do with this is find a location, find a place to have the showers, and then do real outreach, not fake outreach to the neighborhood, so you can deal with people's concerns. Because that's what doesn't happen with a lot of the projects, when people will bring something to city council and then people from the neighborhood will show up and say, we don't want this in our neighborhood. And, and then unfortunately certainly doesn't recommend. And I mean, that's the people that have the time and wherewithal. However, they get their way. So what we're gonna do is get a reasonable level of agreement from neighbors before we take the proposal anywhere, because sort of like, I'm not going to fuck around with this if we don't have a location. Basically, that's what I'm working on now. I went to the clergy meeting of NAACP last week and said that we're asking them, the churches, to, like, the city's interested in possibly partnering with churches with inclement weather shelters and the showers. So I said that we're asking people to take this information back to your congregation, see what your congregation thinks. If your congregation wants to get involved in that, then take it out to the neighborhood. I mean, basically, I'm not going to fuck with anybody until we have a location. That's the thing. I mean, there's no point. So basically, I mean, that's kind of that's how you, that is how my dad and my brother would go about things. You don't take your case from somewhere until you've figured out all the reasons that people can disagree with you and can counter it, you know? I mean, my dad wasn't a lawyer, but he did stuff like that. And so this Tuesday, there's the organization that does the showers is going to be doing them. And so I'm going to go over there and, you know, ask the people there, ask the volunteers there about it, and ask people that are using it, just, okay, can you tell me, what would make this work better for you? What are problems? What are things that work? Stuff like that.
A good way of doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's going to be for with the city money, we're not going to do it unless we have security, basically. And I said, because what happens is when people come down and complain about it, then you have the other side, blah, blah, you're an NIMBY, you don't care. And it's like, they're concerned about their fucking property, you know? I mean, it's legitimate. So,
Right.
you know, so I said, you know, as part of the mission and the plans is
You
that,
think they would be able to get some security down there, you know?
well, they will once we have this set up. I mean, some of the people that some of these things have been proposed without proper outreach to the neighborhood, without respect and communication. So we'll figure out where to have something, and then, you know, figure out how it will work. It will have security, and basically, and then go around to the neighborhood so that we have answers to all those questions. That yes, there will be security. It will be cleaned up. One of the big things is like they need to let people know that they have somebody to complain to. Like, okay, that they have somebody to complain to if something goes wrong. That's a bit. So, I mean, safe campsites is more difficult, but that's something that people want to do as well. And it was proposed a couple years ago, and the people proposing it were idiots that didn't know what they were doing. And so neighbors came down and objected, and they, you know, it would have been a big problem for them. And yeah, and that's not good. We don't want that to happen. Months. Whoa. Okay. Oh no. No, I'll be in town. I'll be in town next week. My brother's having surgery in Seattle, and I'm gonna go up and help him out. But then he just said today he was thinking about postponing it. I was like, Matt, he's always busy. I mean, you're always gonna be busy. Just get it out.
Yeah, I understand, Matt. Trust me.
Exactly. Yeah, everybody I know puts it off, and all it does is get worse. So, okay, you got any announcements? Any shows coming up?
Nothing special coming up. Yeah, nothing really special coming up that I can think of. Um, just so you know, I'm gonna be out of town in May
Oh, okay.
from the 21st to the 27th. So just put that on your calendar, and I'll bring it up again. We have a while until then, anyway.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, nothing big, nothing special. Can't say anything special. Nope.
The end of
Well, I do want to give a shout out to Scott Ewer, and Jody.
Scott and Jody. You guys.
Yeah, thank you guys for always watching and replying.
Oh, I know.
And it's Global History Night. We love it.
Yeah, I really appreciate it, you guys. I really do.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
Give a shout out to Age and his new venture, his new song, Love Letter.
Oh, I know. It's kicking ass.
Yeah, I liked it. I liked his new song. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
okay. See everybody next week.
all right, y'all.